Welcome to the Playbook here at the Wynn in Las Vegas, the Blue Wire Studios, my great partners, and I'm David Meltzer with a man that you have to love, even though his name is Lee Haight.
Hey, got a lot of haters, but I'm a lover, guys, I swear.
He's easy to love. Thank you, Lee. He's the CEO of RCA, which is the roofing and Skydiamonds University king and captain. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, brother.
Well, I had to have you because at your core, and I always look at people's skills, their knowledge of who and what, and their desire, where and why you're successful is your skills, knowledge, and desire are aligned with my mission to empower others to be happy, but not just to be happy in the same way I'm trying to make people happy by making a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and most importantly for you and I, as we do more and more together, it's always so much fun. You know, how did you get there to have such a mission, you know, as a roofer, basically a sales guy, selling solar and roofing, right?
Yeah, but well, it all started when, my dad was in the car business. I looked up to the GMs in the car lot. These are the white collar guys, the salesmen. So like I'd get in trouble as a kid. My dad would make me read the book by Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. So, basically some tough times in our family happened. My dad actually got booted and he had to make a rebound and he got into the roofing industry. And basically he rebuilt his life and him and his brother built a really successful roofing company. So growing up, I actually was 14 years old. I can remember going out there in the truck with the sales guys just to want to be one of the guys, and the way I could get a little respect would be to get them a lead. Go out there and knock a door.
Then they love the hater.
Yeah. And I can remember too, like my dad's one of the first years that he was trying to establish himself in the business. I'd be hanging out with him during the summer and I literally was the sympathy clothes. I was that so guy. Good. It's like the little boy in There Will Be Blood.
There's so many different lessons and especially in the roofing and solar business, there's a lot of historical successes that are created by the lessons of our predecessors, the great Zig Ziglar, Dennis Waitley, all of these great books that you've read. What are some of the basics of sales?
Number one basic has to be, how bad do you want it?
The desire that you must be what you can be.
And then I would say that, I think you talked about it before, but it's first person you got to sell is yourself in the mirror. You got to have faith that that person that you're servicing is better with you than without you. And if you're not certain on that, and that comes with creating the man that you want to be so that you can have that certainty.
And you started at such a young age. And yes, like everyone else on earth, you've had challenges.
Tons of challenges, man. And I was sort of a silver spoon kid that had a little bit of entitlement issues, just like all these millennials and Gen Ys. Developing work ethic. Yes, I had skills. Yes, I would go out there in the streets and kind of knock doors, but I wasn't consistent. I got in trouble and almost got kicked out of high school, failed out of college, and here I was on rock bottom. And, my dad, my mom, they said, sober up, young man, be real, like you're going to do this the right way. They made me go to meetings and get a sponsor. And then I started in the business. I built character, confidence, and I felt like learned actually how to have a voice at telling my story in them silly meetings. But
what's so interesting is that, I have studied one of my previous business partners was constantly in and out of recovery programs and learned the 12 steps myself and utilized the 12 steps, not for recovery and my purpose, but for life.
Oh, let me tell you my favorite one of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite one. It's actually something I've been harping on with my people. I call it the 12th step of roofing. It's a beautiful concept. If somebody gives you something and it makes your life better, it's your responsibility to give it away. Otherwise, you might not keep it.
I love it. And what we give to others, we give to ourselves. And I talk about acknowledgement in its simplest form, which is aligned with that. And the acknowledgement that we want in our lives is that we don't acquire the knowledge unless we don't have it anymore. And it's just not giving it away, where I think it's a completely applicable, and with your academy and how you coach people, acquiring the knowledge occurs by not having it anymore, which means that we should look at when we lose things, when they're manipulated, stolen, or cheated from us, where's the light, the love, and the lessons in that? And that creates this true acknowledgement, the ability to acquire the knowledge. In that essence, you would need to be ready. For example, the 12 steps, they work. It's proven to work.
Right.
But they don't work if you don't have the desire to make them work and do the work. How do we get people to have the desire to make things work and do the work?
And I think the honest to God truth is you have to be the example. It's the strength and energy that you put into the world. A lot of times will lift people up, but it's also sharing your stories, sharing the people that you impact stories. And, you know, me, like, I'll be real with you. Like, the biggest reason why I started as a coach was I had a mentor. I looked up to it. Like, we had this heated family rivalry. It was my dad's company versus my uncle's. My uncle was the $100 million guy. We were kind of the smaller ragtag group. It's like, man, I'm going to build a company like him one day. But I always was learning, always was watching. One day he committed suicide.
Your uncle?
My uncle.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is basically when I'm sitting there listening to my dad give a eulogy at his funeral, I look around and I see all the different companies, owners, and salespeople from other companies that had started with his company, maybe branched off, started their own company. And you're talking about thousands and just kind of like a domino effect, a wave of impact in the world. And when he left, what he gave me, what he gave my family was sort of an education. And I took that moment in time to say, you know what, I'm going to carry the torch. At the time, I was a big follower of Grant Cardone, and you know, I'd been following, reading his books early on, and I'm like, you know, in a ride to the funeral, I actually reached out had this idea to call him, sell him a roof. They sold me training. It was the first time I'd reach outside to hire a coach. Didn't ask my dad's permission.
Yeah.
And ended up doing a whole bunch of projects for Grant, and it was commit now, figured out later, because I had a coaching bill. I didn't know what to do with it. And I started actually coaching contractors, coaching roofers. And people were like, dude, what are you doing? Giving away your secrets. You should spend time on your own money, on your own job, on your own company. Who are you? You know, my uncle was way more successful. And when he'd passed away, they literally called me names. And, you know, the imposter syndromes that come up. I mean, that was a big deal in the beginning. You talk about failures. When I first started coaching, my business went backwards because I shifted my attention, didn't have the leadership team. And I actually, 1 year of having my first successful coaching year, I lost $1 million in my regular business. And I had to really reevaluate. And the truth was, you know, I wanted to be sort of a new age guy, but I didn't understand marketing. I didn't have the social media brand. I wasn't the man that I needed to be, and I had a long ways to go. So, you know, that was 8 years ago, and it's been a great journey. But we were when we started, it was like a $8 to $10 million company. We're a $100 million roofing company now. We've generated $400 million in results through our students at Skydiamonds University. It's typically like someone that's starting a contracting company or has a roofing company or wants to take their roofing company to the next level. And then we just give them our business systems, our marketing, our recruiting. We coach them through. And, you know, it's crazy. The guys that take it seriously all get insane results. And so it's been really rewarding for me because I always found if I am having someone watch, I perform better. Right? I'm like a little bit of a narcissist there, I guess.
Or an athlete.
Or an athlete, yeah. Either way, I can remember being 19 and having this guy for the first time. They're like, hey, Lee, take this guy out, train him, show him what the business is like. We sold 5 deals that day. So I was like, what? Is this some sort of gift from God's luck, beginner's luck? Let me feed off your beginner's luck. I need another beginner.
Right.
You ever find that when you have a good sales rep to hire that something happens and it's just like the easiest day and a deal pops in their lap so that they like know that this is the right move?
That's why I have people around me at all times. And it's an amazing effect and effect. It's called the witness effect. When we pay attention and give intention to something or someone, it actually elevates that something or someone and gives the coincidences and consequences. Because when someone's watching us, we have to pay attention and give intention to the consequences or coincidences. And that witness provides that opportunity actually for us. Now, one thing that you said is a subtlety of success. And I find that anyone that has reached the realm that we have in that over 100 million club, you know, I always say there's different clubs, right? It's, you know, the 0 to 1 million, the 1 to 3, the 3 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 to 100, 100 to 300, 300 to a billion. And those are the jumps that I see. And it takes a different mindset each step or plateau of the way. And you've made it like I have to a certain plateau. But There's always be more.
Oh, I'm in the middle of the fight of my life right now. There's legislation changing in Florida. They're
Right.
blaming it all on the roofers. They're changing laws and putting my picture, calling me public enemy number one, like I'm
Well, your last
bankrupting.
name's Haight. It's easy, right?
Insurance companies, like it's all the roofers' faults. But there's 6, 7 of the major insurance companies that have actually gone out of business in Florida, but they're back. There's reinsurance. It's plenty of money. We do roofing and solar. We're good. But it's been a challenge, going from last year 65 million, this year 100 million with all these changes across the board. You talk about recession. I don't really know how much it affects my industry because it's more opportunity to connect with good people. But, I do see these changes. Like there's a lot of things coming down, and there's some scary things happening even this week.
There's scary things every single day. And I always tell people, if you can tell me exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, I know how to make $1 billion, but no one's ever been able to do that with any certainty. As a salesperson, one of the inherent characteristics is the lack of patience. So you talked about building your coaching business, the academy, but the first year you look back and say, what am I doing? It cost me $1 million
to start my business. You shift your attention.
Yeah.
And it's like the art of war. Like you split your duties, and I just didn't have enough lieutenants. I hadn't trained enough cavalry.
But you couldn't have gotten to where you are without that loss in that year. And as a salesperson, we love forget the fanfare, forget the community watching us, cheering us. We love the instant gratification in money that occurs in sales. So it's even a bigger leap for people like you, Lee, to have the patience to learn from a year. In the second year, I'm sure you might have even just broke even. But when it starts aggregating, compounding, and accelerating, 8 years later, you start seeing jumps like from 65 million to 100 million, instead of from 650,000 to $1 million. Now, it's the exact same percentage of growth. It's just you need to do the work to get to 65 million, and those percentages really pay off when you get to those levels.
They do, man. And what's crazy is like the stress, the personalities, the situations. Yeah, they can be more intense, but overall, life is more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the bigger the business you have, the more people that you have to, I had Jocko at my last event. You're going to be speaking at this event. I'm very pumped up. But he told me, he sat down with me at lunch and he was like, dude, I don't do anything else that someone else can do. And, just basically it's the biggest challenge that my guys, the blue collars have. They get their happiness out of working with their hands. They get their happiness out of servicing the customer. Maybe that they become salespeople and they get their happiness out of just the process of being their number one salesman within their company that can sell it and service it, and they just love it. But that also holds them back because they can't let go.
Right. And I have an even further statement beyond Jocko's, right? I won't do something that I don't like to do. If I don't like to do it, I'm going to pay someone to do it.
There you go.
Right? And so for me, it's like if I could pay someone to worry for me, I would pay for sure, because that's the biggest detriment to my success and my potential. Now, you just mentioned a really important thing. We're going to be doing an event together in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yep.
I believe it's September 1st through 3rd, and it's the Blue Collar American Dream.
Oh, my God. Just, to me, the blue collar American dream is dying. I believe that people look at blue collar as working class, as working with their hands. They think of factory worker. That's not how I think of blue collar. That's not how I was as a blue collar.
Right.
We're entrepreneurs still. We apply sales strategies still. But I've met so many of my students that started on the roof. So why, as Americans, have we take shop classes out of high school, pushed our youth away from learning how to work with their hands? Because sometimes if you work with your hands, you pay attention, you get into a mentorship, apprenticeship, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to service, you realize, man, I've got some value, and then you become something else. And I just think so many people in these younger generations want to skip steps. They don't want to go through that. And, my goal is to raise the status of blue collar entrepreneurs. Now, we tell people like, dude, we fix big problems for big paychecks. We don't do the roofs, we sell the roofs. But at the same time, dude, like there's a multi-billion-dollar recession-proof opportunity for anyone, for online marketers, for people that want to work and close from home. And I'm just trying to get the word out there. We do crazy things. I'll be honest with you, man. One of the biggest important reasons why you're there is because mental health is very important to me. My mom's a counselor. And like I said, my uncle died of suicide. It's how it all started. And so I believe like when COVID happened, I made a real shift and I started taking my fitness a lot more seriously. So I got into martial arts. It's a lot of fun. So at our events for our networking, we have fights. We have cage. I actually got in the cage last year.
Nice.
I'm going to be getting in the cage this year. But
Well, Forrest Griffin, he told me he was going to come into the cage with you.
oh God, well, hopefully I can move my
I
head.
bring Michael Chandler.
No, I'll take Forrest. I'll take my chances.
Yeah. I won't even take my chance with Forrest. Not with a nose like this.
Yeah,
It's too big of a target.
I got a big nose too, dude. I think
no,
I
you
got
have a
beat.
small face, brother. I look at things positively.
All right.
But the American dream, beyond being a blue collar, the modern day blue collar, people talk about the American dream. And one of the things I love about you and why I want to participate in the blue collar American dream is that I don't want people to discount America or the American dream. I travel the whole world, as you know, speak around the whole world. Everybody wants to live in America.
We have the best.
They talk shit,
yeah,
but they want to live in America.
Right.
And there's no other place that there's two guys like you and I
mm-hmm.
that literally have a possibility of being the richest man in the world,
mm-hmm.
have a possibility of being the president of the country.
Right.
We have a possibility of changing the world, saving the world, inspiring the world. And it doesn't matter if I was lying in my car, high on crack, I still have that dream that can be unleashed. And I see it, and I want more people to unleash the dream. And that's why I really am excited about doing more events with you.
Absolutely.
You and I are aligned with not only the blue collar side of things, because you won't find anyone more consistent. I'm like a roofer, right? I'm hammering every goddamn
Well, you did
day.
business. You did real estate development.
Yeah,
you
of
got
course.
construction
Oh,
experience.
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about a lot of people might look at you as a white collar guy, but applying it to that construction world and that real estate development world. I mean, what are the lessons that you picked up?
Yeah, well, first of all, cost of goods, like at a high level in business, you really learn about cost of goods itself and
that's
supply
where you
chain.
can get killed in this.
And then two, you really understand labor, right?
It's important.
And
big things with labor happening right now too in my state.
I bet. And those are the two areas that I learned about that I think a lot of white collar or, look at a guy who's highly educated,
right?
Very academic background with my family being academic, but there's margins to be made in supply chain, in cost of goods, and there's margins to be made in labor. If you look and pay attention and give attention to those two areas. So on the construction side and the development side, those were two things I kind of overlooked, right? You just assume. And then on the real estate side, the real thing that I've learned is to know my timing and risk tolerance.
There you go.
There's always good deals in real estate if you know your timing and risk tolerance. So market interest rates could be high, market could be slow, demand could be low, demand could be high. Historically, the roadmap is set. So to have mentorship from someone like you on all three of those areas of number one, how do I deal with cost of goods? Two, how do I deal with people? You talked about mental health. That's just one of the reasons you're bringing me. You bring other people in to talk about how do we get the most out of our labor? And then even more importantly, what is your timing and risk tolerance in life? And with all the changes that go on, big changes in Florida, California, same thing. How can we still make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun utilizing those?
You just have to have the idea that pressure makes diamonds. And that's sort of like when the douche guru gets in the cage, if he gets beat up, that would be kind of funny for everybody to watch.
Right.
But at the same time, there's almost no more pressure than that. Forget about how many people actually jump in the program. I feel more pressure in that moment. And it's a reflection that risk is the down payment for success and that you got to bet on yourself. And, the reality is like we live in this world and this opportunity. I've seen how you have leveraged your audience, and a lot of my guys, they're just honestly too worried about what everybody else thinks to let themselves go, just to put themselves out there. And so a lot of times, like I'm on your podcast now and I love it, but I hold their hand, guide them to telling their story. And a lot of times this is the beginning of sort of like a journey, just like it was a journey for me over the last 8 years. I really wasn't taking social media seriously. I was just an organic business door-to-door guy. But applying social media really was the one of the good to great accelerators.
Yeah, I think a lot of traditional blue and white collar workers don't realize the size, scope, and scale of an audience, whether it be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, fan pages, Reels, whatever it is, TikTok. Every single time, no matter what platform it was, Lee, as I grew and grew my brand, I always look backwards and say, man, I discounted how big the size, scope, and scale of the audience is on YouTube, on anywhere. And so one of the encouraging things is for great blue collar guys like yourself, worth over $100 million a year, just kicking butt, have realized that, hey, I have a lot to feed the community with, and building that community with the vision that you have, like by having the American.
Well, here's how I know there's a thirst for it, okay? The people from Hollywood reached out to me a few years ago, and they said, we want you for a reality TV show. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I went to visit them. They produced all these good documentaries. This thing, like, they were the Deadliest Catch producers and all this stuff, but they had this concept. And they were going to take bankers or white-collar guys, lawyers, and they were going to people that were sick of sitting in a corporate America office job. And remember where you're at, but if you're sort of limited and you don't, get to go out there and, help people and be outside and do the things, maybe you feel hampered. So they were going to put them in a blue-collar trade like roofing. Let me be their apprentice. Let them be my apprentice for a week and just kind of shadow me, and just sort of like the mix between dirtiest jobs and sort of like CEO on the job. And undercover boss or whatever, and basically me take these bankers, and at the end of the week, them decide if they wanted to flip their collar, if they wanted to go from white collar to blue. Nice. And the show never got produced, but we're
gonna, a good show. Flip the collar.
Yeah, that's the whole concept. That there's a whole ton of people in America that want to deploy capital, want to deploy their resources, and maybe that they're not an online coach, maybe they're not a digital marketer, maybe they don't want to start an e-com store. And if you do have an e-com store, let me tell you, we sell roofs on the internet, and they're very expensive. Average roofing solar combo deal is about $60,000 to $80,000, and there's a lot of margin and opportunity there. You can sell them without even leaving your comfort of your home. So that's sort of the big picture. What we're trying to do is,
strong math.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I am super excited about joining you September 1st through September 3rd at the Blue Collar American Dream event. We are going to empower others to empower others. We're going to teach people how to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And I'll tell you that it's not going to be the last thing that you and I are doing. We're going to change the world together. I need more people like Lee Haight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, guys.
At the incredible studio here in the lobby of the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. I'm David Meltzer.
I'm Lee Haight. You can follow me at Lee_Haight on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, Lee Haight. We do crazy door-to-door videos. I fight with insurance companies. I got people coming in my office. We got jiu-jitsu mats, so you come do a podcast and you can try and choke me out.
Check out the show notes if you didn't catch all of that. But he's Lee Haight. You can Google him. He's everywhere. So is his company. So is his event. Check the show notes. Come join me September 1st through 3rd. This is Dave Meltzer with The Playbook.